share things up in the Discord. And on X. Good day, everyone. We'll give people a few minutes to get in here. I am looking for a short locally here. I'll explain what all these purple lines are on the chart. But anyways, the idea for the short here locally, just another, looking for a lower high, targeting into some local lows, potentially the lows of the range, cutting if we break up out of here. And probably not taking the short if we don't reject below this high. We'll take a look at order flow as well. Price objectively in a range here. Always the possibility of holding this, some of this for a bigger breakdown. But I'll kind of tell you the structures I'm interested in. And if we break out of this, then just looking for these highs to get taken up here. And maybe look for a short there. Some nice little bounces off the point of control. It's a high volume area up here. Price was trending. We've broken down that trend. Front run this high 1, 2, 3 times. These are all lower highs. But yeah, just giving people a few minutes to get in here. Oh. Take a look at order flow as we take these highs here. Maybe trap some longs. The idea of these trend lines, I kind of call them, it's kind of like a hidden downtrend inside this range. And I guess I'll take a moment to explain it, which is, actually I want to give a little bit more context here on the higher time frames first. We've also taken this high and rejected below it multiple times. So this is a failed breakout of this high. Our non-log GP, big POC up above, some levels up here I'd love to see tap, but for now we're rejecting below this high. We have our log GP here. We have a little bit of confluence with the fact that ETH is also testing its GP here. Took some highs on the daily chart, multiple rejections. A couple alts like Doge kind of falling into a bit of a downtrend here. Looks pretty weak, frankly. But anyways, the idea of these trend lines is sometimes you'll notice that a trend angle starts developing in a range, and even though price is chopping sideways, or even in some contexts is an uptrend, you'll notice price is pivoting along the same trend angle or pretty close to a lot, which is to say, if you take these highs, for example, this little trending move into a breakdown, this is a trend angle, and you just duplicate it. It's the exact same trend angle as these highs. 1, 2, 3. You duplicate it again, it's the exact same trend angle here. A little bit of almost a channel forming there. It's pretty close to the trend angle here, it's pretty close to the trend angle of this. And even our lower pivots are bouncing off of these trend angles from the highs. And so if you duplicate that to this high, the trend angle of this range, the downtrending angle, is this, right? So something like this coming down, taking this low into this trend angle, this would kind of be an internal channel here. Another rejection from here keeps that bearish trend intact. And I have some thoughts of, you know, I think there's a possibility you take something like this low. Say you form a little bit of a downtrend here, take this low, another lower high, rejecting from this, take this low again. There's some nice confluence down there, so the value area low of the range. And you have this, and then you also have our major trend line. So this would be sort of a decision point, I think, in this range. Like you come down and test this and these local lows, and I think that would be an interesting long. Be an interesting TP on this short, and it'd be an interesting opportunity to look to get long, and then maybe all this breaks out and we get something like this. So I'm deferring to trade this range. With some of this trending price action. And then if we just break out of here, I'm going to call this, you know, a breakout and just look for these higher levels. Let me go to here. I'll share one example. I don't talk about these kind of hidden trends that often, but I'll give another example of me talking about it in just the Discord chat some time ago, which is these trending moves are quite nice for continuation on the lower time frames. And then I was pointing out in a conversation here, something you'll notice a lot is that a trend angle shows up on a bunch of the pivots. I just pulled a trend line and then duplicated it twice. And so you have this, you have like internal trends. So you have high, 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 low, 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 high, high, high. It's all the same trend angle. And so saying that this, even though this, you know, you could call it kind of the support of this range, of these local lows. If this holds, this all stays into the context of the downtrend. And so you're kind of looking, if you're looking for the downtrending variation of price action here, it's not unreasonable to look at something like this for sort of the speed of the downtrend, right? Where you're looking for this, and a rejection here. And then I just give an example that you're kind of getting the same thing with the same trend angles across these highs, across these lows, across these highs, across these lows. So these are just, again, the same trend angles in the uptrend, same trend angles in the downtrend. I might just made a joke here. I warned you because that, you know, trend angle rejects. And then we go on later in the day to not just reject from this trend angle, but then to bounce from the lows of the trend angle again, right? So that's kind of what I'm looking at here. It's not to say these trend angles can't break out, but to me, they present themselves as relevant quite often. I know it looks a little silly, but it's essentially just saying that there's an established downtrend here in terms of the angle of price that is relevant. And I would actually say that, you know, breaks of this are relevant as well. But I wouldn't mind seeing something like, let's pull these setups off here. Something like this, a sweep of the highs, a move down into the lows of this downtrend, maybe put in another lower high, take the low again into this, and then maybe look to squeeze out of this downtrend, or price just rolls over, right? And we break down from here. So that's how I'm looking at things here. Let's just get rid of some of the mess here. A little bit of a confluence here with the local GP, taking a local pivot high, pushing up a little higher, kind of back tests this trending price action as well, but breaks the whole idea of this trend line. We'll see. Timing here would be nice as well. And obviously this is highly speculative. Because this isn't a trend line, that it's just literally a pivot. It's just a duplicated angle. But if we run up into this GP and reject, then we have established this trend angle again. I've never seen anyone talk about this. You know, you always want to be careful claiming you invented something, but or discovered something for the first time. Surely millions of people spend lots of hours on the chart, so probably other people have noticed things like this, but yeah, we'll look at order flow when the highs are taken. I mean, obviously, it goes without saying that we have a lot of liquidity building up underneath us. We haven't even taken a lower time frame higher low in this entire downtrend. I mean, uptrend rather. So essentially since here really, we didn't take this low, never took this low, never took this low, this low, this low, this low, this low. Maybe you could claim that this was taking our first low, but this low sold, this low, this low, this low. So even if everybody who's swing long here is just trailing under the last pivot lows, everything's intact here. So yeah, would I be surprised to see if or when this trend breaks in terms of higher lows, to see a massive wipe of liquidity? No. I think these lows are probably all quite vulnerable. But as I've said, I really do like the idea of pushing up at some point. Maybe it's from the lows of this range, maybe it's today. Pushing up into this weekly high, this POC region. Depending on the chart, the POC comes in a little high, around 97.5, 98K. Taking all of this, and even potentially taking all of this, but we'll see. For now, we're in a range. This is Binance's order flow, just CVD here, open interest. Open interest, big increases in open interest here. Lots of aggressive longing. Price ranging. We had a little bit of a bearish divergence develop up at the highs here. Chop some shorts, squeeze some of that out. We're gonna front run in these highs. Bybit order flow, some more bullish looking divergences in CVDs at these lows. Generally speaking, still the look of a lot of liquidity down here. It's really too early to say Um, if anything really matters outside of this range at this point, I mean, taking the range highs looks interesting. I think trading internally in the range is certainly reasonable. But we'll see what happens. You know, we're starting to see some aggressive longs coming in here. We saw some aggressive shorts come in here. Some more aggressive selling, getting absorbed a little bit. Now some aggressive longs. So I'd like to see the little pop here. So a lot of trap longs, and then the rejection for the short. Could all come kind of quick. We'll pull up both at the low time frame order flow here, just see what's happening. What time zone am I in? When do you normally trade? I mean, I'm usually tentatively available to trade all major sessions. New York, Asia, London. Sometimes it's just setting some alerts and coming to trade those sessions if some major levels get taken. I'm not really, you're saying that you're expecting more downside than I am. I'm not really expecting necessarily not more downside. I'm just going to look at relevant structure, right? I mean, I'm suspecting I might get in a situation where I can do something like this, where I can take a short up here, take a long down here, take profits on my short. Maybe this has some internal structure, right? Maybe take another low time frame short here, target the lows again, take another long, and then this is kind of a decision point for me, because at this point we'd have a pretty well established downtrend for price to roll over. We'd also be testing our let me just get rid of all these purple lines here. Was that in the same group? We'd also be testing potentially holding this up or breaking it down, right? So we have lows, we have a trend. This is all where I'm not really expecting a bounce or not a bounce. I'm just expecting probably whatever happens to be relevant. You know, if this breaks down, well, then you got to kind of think of, I mean, this low's coming, and kind of not surprised to see this low come either. And then in here, this is again just a range, and whether or not we push the highs or put in a higher low, we've broken down this trend line, who knows? But you then can just kind of rinse and repeat, maybe some low time frame setups, longs and shorts, maybe get some to carry on either end, take some profits, remove the risk, and then probably for me getting more ambitious about just holding a position if I get something like, you know, so let's just sample a big sweep of this and just hold that as a swing on a strong rejection, and I can still step in and trade other stuff on lower time frames, but have a swing position there. But of course there's some chance that this all just rolls over and it gets really weak, and then you're just kind of printing, you know, you really have no reason to just close out your shorts, and maybe even no reason to take a long, and all of a sudden this trade becomes a much nicer setup. But until then, just respecting the structure of the range. In theory, if this is going to be relevant, and again, it's speculative, it's not necessarily like the thing I need to be happening to be willing to take a trade here, but I think it's a reasonable idea. But if we're going to get the timing confluence, then we should be seeing timing confluence into these local highs and this GP. Then we're going to be seeing this impulse through these highs relatively soon. And you kind of end up with something like this. Be kind of nice to hold a little trend here. Get some grindy price action that can then roll over. I just explained that, I think, Jonathan. You said I'm assuming you're saying it's this short. You're talking about this short idea. You said, is it more of a scalp or targeting lower than the range? I think I just explained that, right? I mean, if there's a lot of weakness, you can get kind of more ambitious with it, but we're in a range, so you can't really, I mean, you can do whatever you want, but if you're just saying I'm targeting a breakdown of the range, then you're just hoping the range breaks down, right? I mean, we're in a range. There's a lot of scenarios. I think people have a little bit of trouble doing this, but where you just do this, right? Like, let's just say you're in this trade, and just for the sake of this argument, you're structuring it around this being all the relevant stuff. And so you do this, and you take profits off this bounce on your short, and then maybe you even take the long. And then this happens, and you say, you know what? I'm going to call this another rejection, and this is a breakdown. I'm just going to re-enter my short exactly where I got out of it. And then you're just in the same trade, and it's as if you never closed it, right? I mean, you're technically probably even maybe entering it a little higher or at the same level. And I think people have a hard time because it's easier to see the green number get smaller than it is to see the red number get bigger, even though it's the same thing because you've taken profits here. And I've seen so many people say, because let's just say you have $1,000 of unrealized P&L here, and you take the $1,000, so you have you're plus $1,000, versus and then price starts bouncing, so you're happy you took profits, and then it starts breaking down. You say, I should have never closed my short. Well, had you not closed your short, what would have happened is your unrealized P&L would have gotten smaller, and then it would have gone back to $1,000. And the only difference between just opening the short again and having not closed it is the fee of opening and closing the trade, right? So, I mean, I've just seen so many people say things like, oh my gosh, I just accidentally closed my trade. I accidentally closed my trade. I didn't mean to close the whole thing, or I wish I was still in my trade. And price is at the price they just closed it, just reopen it, right? There's like literally no difference. Or I wish I'd kept half of it running or something like that. It's like even if you close the whole thing here, let's say you close the whole thing, this starts happening, whatever, and this starts breaking down, and you open half, even if you open half of the trade back at where you closed the entire thing, and your invalidation is just the exact same, you can even bring it down a bit. Well, you've still secured half of the position, right? And then you just let all this play out and whatever. The only difference is you're round tripping an unrealized green number, or you're just losing half of the realized green number and you're seeing an unrealized red. Hopefully that makes sense. Who's just saying still potentials of lowers, still potential of lower later on, question mark, as per what Minotaur said. 100k but still not updated if a dump to close key levels before heading to it or after. He's eyeing 72k. Any take on ETH? Any potential, I mean, there's I think in the bullish cases, like, let's just get rid of all. I'm just gonna put this in a group, but no, let's just get rid of everything here. Yeah. Is there potential for lower? I think obviously. There's potential for higher. Higher would look something like this, like probably, which we objectively kind of have a little bit, but we're right at resistance. But you know, you break out of this, you keep grinding, and then you get another impulse. Probably it's going to look something like that. But for most of the bullish scenarios, I think something like this is still more likely than not. Come test some of this. Higher lows are possible too, but yeah, I mean, I still actually like the idea of coming back down into these lows, and I really don't. I mean, I really don't care if what other views people have. I mean, I'm gonna take longs. I've even taken longs in this range, and I'm gonna take longs down in here, and I'm gonna trade towards some of the bullish ideas as well, lock in some profits ideally, and have shorts for bearish ideas. But I'm just telling you what my bias is, what I think. I think this is all, you know, this 67, 65k. I think this is all totally on the table still, and I think it gets less and less likely if we start breaking up out of this, depending on what happens for a potential higher low, and from there, and I'd like to have longs there. But yeah, I'm not so convinced. I mean, I think a lot of people from what I've seen seem kind of convinced that just the low is in before continuation through all-time highs, and I think there's a good case for it. I'm not going to say there's not a good case for it, and I'm even willing to trade around some of those ideas, but I probably just actually still lean towards lower. And you know, if you got yeah, I don't know. even looking at ETH, I mean, I've said this before on other live streams. Bitcoin, and you asked me if I had thoughts on ETH. Bitcoin is it looks a lot different than alts, right? Like you pull open your random alt chart, and structurally it looks nothing like Bitcoin. Bitcoin looks completely reasonable that we could just see strong continuation towards all-time highs. And I mean, I think there's a lot of people that just think we're going to continue straight up from here, and that's a possibility. But that doesn't look as reasonable to me on most alts. And although there's not a one-to-one correlation, obviously, between Bitcoin and alts, if Bitcoin starts trending through all-time highs, more likely or not than not, that's going to be what a lot of alts do. Like something like this, I mean, taking this low is one idea for a higher low, but coming and running this low and this low also looks quite good on ETH. And putting in something like this, like, does it look the most reasonable to think that in this price action, this choppy, just almost like straight down downtrend, everything's flipping, that then this is just gonna do this? Or is it more likely that the bottom, if it's forming, is going to look just going to take a little bit of time to form? Either with a higher low here, I think it's interesting, or a new low. You could just say that it's completely reasonable to think that ETH would take this low in a lot of scenarios, even if Bitcoin's making a higher low. Just a weaker ETH, that's 25% away. And then you have something like 15-16% for a higher low on Bitcoin. And I think the same could be applied to a lot of the alts I'm looking at. I've already talked about this, but like, I'm not really expecting this. I would expect something like this or like this for a major low. Something like this, right? Like put in a low, take the low, retest the low. And I'm somebody who, people, I got a comment today where someone said, it seems like you're only interested in short setups and you don't bull post. But I mean, I was literally bull posting the shit out of Doge here. I mean, I'm somebody who's traded this towards 42 cents. And yeah, I mean, I'm bullish on Doge, but if you had to ask me if I think it's more or less likely that just there's no more retracements and we're going to V-shape from here, I would say less likely. I'm bullish a high time frame towards all-time highs on Doge, but if a low's going to form here, it's probably going to look something like this or like this. And that's just, I think, I'm just giving my view, what I think is more or less likely. Doesn't mean I'm bearish on, it doesn't mean I'm bearish on Doge per se, but do I think that I want to swing long this right now? Probably not. But of course, people who follow me, if Doge just does this, and they're going to be, I guess, upset at me. I mean, people want to long, whether it's Doge or whatever else it is, and they want to catch the big move. They don't want to miss it. And if it comes and they miss it, they'll be angry. But that's not that's not how I make my trading decisions, based on I don't want random people who don't have any plan or any idea what they're doing to be angry if something that I think isn't very likely happens. So I'm just going to say what they want me to say so that doesn't happen. No. I mean, if we break out here, there's also going to be opportunities to get long, right? Like maybe you start forming something like this, price starts trending and grinding into this, and then you just say, okay, well, I'm just going to take some aggressive longs into this trend. And I did that in here, right? I mean, there was like $100 trades, and I was adding to longs all into this, and that similar thing on XRP before the big pump. There's opportunities, right? You don't have to make a decision based on what you're going to think is going to happen here, and then take a position for the long term with a 1% stop loss, right? It's like there's probably time you can look at the chart every day and make reasonable decisions. I don't know. I don't know who Camel. I don't know anything about his, and I only know. I obviously know Prez. He's in the Discord, and we've communicated a lot. I don't really know what his like overall thesis is, but you're saying their views are flip flop. Kind of can understand their views. I mean, you could say my views are flip flopped, right? I was bearish into this downtrend until this broke. Then I cut my shorts because, I mean, I said this all comes really quickly up into this high in this POC. No reason to stay short here. But people will look at that as, you know, it just depends how you look at it, right? Like you're not claiming that price is not going to go up here. You're just claiming the trending, downtrending structure, I guess, is relevant until it's not. And something some of these got moved, obviously, because they're converging. They should be staying the same distance apart. I mean, the market's always, I'll just say this, the market's literally a random, it's a random environment, right? Like there's consistencies, but ultimately random things are happening all the time. That it's not about predicting what price is going to do. And I don't know specifically what you're referring to in terms of flip-flopping, but there's this kind of strange thing where people want, like people say, like, I respect conviction, right? Like I respect somebody who doesn't change their mind. It's like that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. It depends on the context, but they think like if you're bearish, you stay bearish. Doesn't matter. Price goes up 500%. Conviction is just staying bearish and saying, you know, I still think we're gonna take this low that's 99% away. You pump 10,000%. It's a trap. Fake out. anyways, the point is, you should, like, well, at least in my opinion, if you're using technical structures, and let's just say you're trading this as a range, it's not a flip-flop to say, I'm going to long the lows of this range and cut if it breaks down, and then somebody will say, and it breaks down, and maybe you have some of your short running from the highs and you're stopped out of your long, and somebody says, you were bullish and now you're flip-flopping to bearish. There's no flip-flop. It's a trade structured around price, right? Has nothing. Your bias is just that this is a range, and if it's breaking down, the range is breaking down. If it's reclaimed, we're back in the range. There's no bullish or bearish bias there. It's just the structure of price. Anyways, I don't have to rant about that too much, I don't think. Jonathan, you've been around for a while. Have you ever been in the Discord? I can't recall. For some reason, I think I recall seeing your name, but I know you've been around. Definitely in live streams and on X. Maybe for a couple years, right? Okay, yeah, I thought so. So yeah, you said 100R. In order to realize most of that, you have to have been light on the profit taking. So that's still how you treat positions now. It was incredibly context specific, right? You can't target like to get something like that out of a trade. You know, we can go back to I mean, a lot of people here will recall this because literally all I was doing all I was doing in here was just longing everything in this trending grinding price action on XRP every day. I mean, it was just basically every day looking for longs on XRP, and all of this structure, trading with tight stop losses. I mean, I'll have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure I was literally in like all of this trading tight stops towards the big impulse because there's a really bullish idea. And even just pointing out that even though price is way up here, there's still opportunities to long, and like you don't want to miss those opportunities for this bullish thesis. It's just the risk reward is so good if all this triangle idea is coming to a head, then you're just looking for strong continuation out of here. But this isn't happening every day, right? Like if you treat every trade like this, is this happening every day that XRP is breaking out of, you know, a multi-decade, or not multi-decade, a multi-year massive triangle, and then you have this really bullish grinding trending price action where you can justify looking to hold for strong continuation. By the way, this was all super stressful because I had a lot of longs and like everything. I mean, at some point you don't want to take profits too early, and you're kind of like, but you don't. Your position gets so big you don't want to round trip that kind of money. But anyways, the point is, if you're asking, do I still trade like that today? It's like, well, what happens? What's going to happen if every single trade I'm taking on XRP looks like this, and the context isn't there, right? It's like I'm just doing this every day. No, you can't do that, right? Because the context is different. I think that's one thing that people just can't they can't get their head around very easily, which is, go look at any chart. How often is the 500%, 600, 700% swing trade coming into play? Not very often. Those opportunities don't come very often. So like there'll be times where, I'll catch something like that on, like, I'll trade towards something like that on Doge or XRP or whatever it is, and then people will come into the Discord and be like, "Hey, I'm joining. I'm looking for something like that, right? Like, are you gonna share any more ideas like that?" It's like, well, I'd love to trade 600, 700% moves every day, but that's not how the market works, right? So yeah, most of the time you're not trading moves like that, and the justification for being light on the profit taking here, where you're not closing your trade, on the first 3% move, is context specific, right? Where you're not taking profits on that position here. Yeah, so anyways, hopefully that makes sense. I mean, it should be the case that, like, somebody asked me recently, and this isn't a knock on them, it was someone in the Discord. I've actually been asked a similar question many times, which is, do I take more swing trades or more scalps? And the answer should hopefully be clear. If you say, I take one scalp a month and 200 swing trades a day, you're probably doing something wrong, because there's not really 200 swing trade opportunities, right? You're a day, or 10. Swing trades are something where it's like for example on Doge, and I'm off that chart now, but the idea would be well, we'll just talk about it on XRP. I mean, these are potential swing trade setups. I do kind of like coming in and filling this wick, to be honest, but anyways, that's, say I'm interested in that swing trade, taking that wick, nice tight validation, swing trade that I'm willing to hold up at least into the highs of the range. Well, we're already 26 days into this potential lower high, and maybe we're another 3 weeks, so 2 months, right? It could be 2 months before I'm taking that trade. I do actually like some, while we're on the XRP chart, and I might have to come back to Bitcoin in a second, because that level I'm interested in is coming up potentially. I don't actually mind looking at some trending stuff here on XRP. I'm considering, like, right now most of my major alt swing ideas are centered around bigger retracements on Bitcoin, and I think it's justifiable. Like, the structure here on XRP is very different than the structure on ETH, for example. So I think potentially looking for some strength into like a trending, grinding price action into a breakout here could be reasonable for some of the potential like shallow pullback ideas, and maybe more reasonable than it is on something like ETH, just because the structure is different. But anyways, I'm open to that. Let's go over to Bitcoin, because maybe my witchcraft trend angles here play out. I'll give it a little bit of room to breathe. I mean, the thing is, though, if we break out of this structure, it's kind of, I don't know, probably give it something like that. But if we break out of this, I just wouldn't be surprised also to see a really quick move through the high. So anyways, it's just one of those setups. It's either going to work or it's not. Give it a little bit of room to breathe. You could you justify playing this tight? I mean, you could, certainly. You could say, well, I'll give it the 786 and like the trend line back test. As it, play it a little bit tighter. The absolute tightest you could justify just saying, well, I'm gonna play this high, right? Just this. And I'm gonna gigascalp it. But I think if you're not a super experienced trader, trying to set up your trades like that, it's just gonna cause you a lot of stress and anxiety where probably none is needed. Especially because there's some chance this turns into a swing trade as well. 0.1, 0.2, 0.3% stops. I think getting into this and maybe just compounding a position, take profits, maybe get a long, compound another short, whatever. It's probably the more user-friendly way to trade this. I'll let you guys, I'll probably tab over to order flow here in a moment and let you guys use your own trading view charts, because most of you probably have the ability to look at a trading view chart and not the ability to look at order flow. Yeah, I like this as a potential bullish or bearish idea. I'm going to see what happens up here. I mean, obviously, this isn't likely. If we just do this, I'm not going to take the short. But ideally, we see a bunch of people longing into this as if that's going to happen and getting completely shut down and then trapped, and then you end up counter trading it. Hugo says lots of people think of it as just trading, don't have two focuses, one for high frequency and one for the macro environment. Yeah, I mean, frankly, it like even if you're in some, for example, like even if I end up in some swing shorts here that I'm not going to close until much lower, and price inevitably just ends up breaking out, let's say, to the upside, depending on how that happens, I could easily end up making more money on the longs than I'm losing on the shorts anyways, because I'm also trading low time frame ideas. Like, let's just say, like, the idea here is you have two realities here. One reality is that you're in a range and you're taking trades within the range, right? And so but you also have the reality of the big high time frame level here. So maybe you're in the big high time frame short, but you're also in some longs here, and you end up in a situation where you take this long, for example, and you're targeting towards the highs of the range, lower high, and then price just rips, and then all of a sudden you're just carrying this long. You're looking to close in, maybe take a swing short up here, and price just rips, and then you're just in the long, right? And even if you've closed this long, a lot of times it's covering the loss of the short. Same thing can happen down here. Like, you can also end up in a scenario where people will get so fixated on like what happens here, but maybe you've taken a short, you've taken a long, taken profits, taken another short, you've taken profits, you've taken another long, you've taken another short, and you've won you've won 5 or 6 trades in this range, and then your high time frame idea doesn't play out. But I mean, that's just a reality of if you're trading low time frame and high time frame ideas. You can get really over fixated on whether or not this range is going to break to the upside or to the downside, and certainly can position around it, but then you can also look to trade internally in the range, and that's what I'm trying to do here. We could say as well that this is the 618 on the log scale up here. Is that a strong confluence? I mean, apparently not, right? Prices washed through it quite a few times. But you're also shorting at this rate into the major log scale GP. So there's that kind of high time frame confluence here for potentially getting into something here that ends up looking like a swing. And even if you're like I said, even if you're taking profits here at the lows, this plays into positioning for a swing, because you can just reopen it on weakness at this place you closed it, and it's offset by the profits, right? It's like you never closed it. I mean, I think people, I've looked for longs in here as well. I took longs here, and I'm going to look for longs here. But people get really, they get really hung up on like one idea, right? I mean, I'm sharing my macro view. I guess that's what people are really fixated on. I think this is important resistance, but I've talked a lot about all of this, so this live stream just talking about some of the low time frame stuff. All right, we'll see if we get a short trigger. Like I said, this is kind of the idea. I'll flip over to order flow for you guys. Seeing some of that aggressive longing coming in, open interest increasing, positive delta. We want to see more. We want to see some shorts get stopped out. See, it's all bid-ask profile, all aggressive buying here. It's not so extreme here. Be nice to see some big numbers. But you'll notice, I mean, this is the type of area where people want to aggressively buy. Like something like this, like when we're chopping maybe up towards this level, you'll notice on these little pullbacks, where do people want to aggressively sell? At the low, right? I mean, this is where 18 million negative delta, all selling, all buying. This is kind of how, on the lower time frames, this is 61 million, 30 million. This is how people aggressively position themselves, both in terms of stopping out and entering trades. And so I'm looking for people to position themselves aggressively long up at the highs here, and then price to reject, and then get wrecked, and me make money. And if I'm wrong, then I get stopped out. And I'll enter positions like this fairly aggressively. People will say, there's lots of people who like to wait for closes, or like I'm going to wait for a 1 hour close below or whatever. But this is all very local, internal, low time frame structure. So as soon as I see price impulse into this level through this high and reject, and if we have lots of trap long, I'll just take the position. I can literally get in or out of that position anytime I want if I want to get back out of it. But yeah, usually I'm not hesitating to take the position as soon as there's a clean reaction, and just accept the risk. This trade could very well lose. I lose trades all the time. And yeah, another thing is it's nice to have like a bit of a specific plan, because like you can get caught thinking, okay, well, we're definitely going to reject from here, and I think we're going to, but I also think we're going to front run it, and so you get caught shorting the lows of some of these local moves, and then you're waiting, okay, well, I'll just sit underwater, wait for the rejection, and then price just breaks out, and suddenly you really actually never had a good reason to be in the trade, because price just broke straight out, and you would have never entered it, but you entered too early because you were afraid the level would never come, and then you held the trade longer than you should because blah 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 blah. There's so much, there's so much that I should say in a public live stream, because you're just basically talking to people from every part of the spectrum of experience, and in terms of risk management, sizing, all this different stuff, and like hard invalidation, soft invalidation, all these things that like you can't possibly be trying to make any type of real trading decisions without that understanding. But it's just, you can't do it right. Like you can try to make it as beginner friendly as you want, but one of the reasons I actually hate taking live trades, like live stream trades, on a public live stream, is because you're just talking to inevitably a bunch of very inexperienced traders who just they're going to try to copy you, and they're just not. They shouldn't be. They shouldn't be taking live trades. And so you kind of feel a need to really preface things that you shouldn't have to preface, because why is a beginner trying to take a low time frame short here? But it's what it is. If you're not an experienced trader and you're trading with live meaningful funds, you're going to get wrecked, right? It's just inevitable. Like, there's just so much you don't understand about trading. It's hard to explain it. It's hard to explain how much you don't understand, and it can't all be explained in a live stream. Well, talking about a specific trade. And there's plenty of opportunities to learn all that stuff. And one of those is you can come join my Discord. There's lots of stuff in the free public Discord, lots of stuff in the members Discord. You can find stuff online, but take it seriously. If you're going to risk meaningful money in the market, then take developing the skill seriously. A great way to interact with the market as a beginner while you're still developing all that stuff and learning it is to paper trade. Take some trades with fictional money, or such a small amount of money that it's relevant to you, and understand. You start to understand so many concepts that I've explained in detail in the, whether it's in my free public content in the members Discord. A lot of the core stuff is available on both sides. That if you ever watched or took the time to understand those things, you would understand, oh my God, I never knew that. I realized not knowing what I just learned is so, there's no way I was ever going to succeed. But so many people never even get to that point, right? And so they never see the information in such a way where it clicks in their head what they're missing. And so, yeah. And so it's like all the puzzle pieces kind of come together or start coming together at different points where there's such critical things you need to know and understand. Without those things, it's just a fool's errand that you're on, just trying to trade live meaningful funds, take random trades. So anyways, I think that's a pretty good caveat. Of course, we refuse to be front run here. Someone's saying you're going to take it at the GP or you're going to take it on the swing failure. Well, I'll say this. I mean, wait, are you going to wait for this or take it with the reaction on the GP? Okay, so you're asking it. I'll just tab over to the chart. You're basically asking if I'm going to wait for price to come back below this high or just take it on the reaction from here. This is 0.5% price difference. So if you think, I mean, let's just say there's a reaction at the GP. You're trying to short that. Well, you're going to be shorting probably under here anyways. I mean, it's the reaction and waiting for price to break below this high is 0.5% price difference, 0.7%. So the point is, does it really matter? Like, so the difference between your entry, if you're trying to short like the reaction or wait until this, it's like a 0.03% difference in your entry. And so if you're trying to figure out like, should I wait for this or should I short as soon as I see this, which one's better? It's a 0.3% difference. And yeah, and it's even going to be hard to execute the trade on the difference. And I would say that if you don't see any reaction, like prices just goes, then probably don't need to take the trade. You could always just wait for more weakness, just for fun. Not that this is the most relevant thing to be looking at. Oh my God! I was gonna say how much time do we have where this trend line overlaps from here with this? So like if price runs into it, technically it could be 40 minutes. It could be 40 minutes. If you got the clean interaction. I'm not even saying, I mean, think about how it's taking this high. This is all very, it's probably a little much. I actually said in the Discord example I give of these trend angles, I said I don't really like talking about stuff this much because this is like sending people down a rabbit hole that they probably don't need to go down, where they're like trying to find the hidden trend angle of all the ranges and all that stuff. Use those, but hey, you can talk about it because it's kind of interesting. So we can just kind of say here that, again, we're still potentially working our way towards that level, but we just saw what we've been seeing, which is aggressive longs open up here. You got the 28 million delta increasing open interest on the bid-ask profile. You see all the aggressive longings, and they're probably running really tight, right? Like, okay, here it is, here's the breakout, and then they all get run out, and then you have all the negative delta. And that is just the quintessential order flow of a choppy trend, which is just aggressive longing, aggressive selling, aggressive longing, aggressive selling, aggressive longing, aggressive selling, and everything's a breakout, and you know, literally just sell the bottom, buy the top, sell the bottom, buy the top, sell the bottom, buy the top, and as soon as they run out, then maybe price continues higher. Congrats on the 2R, Hugos. Says he closed his long at 2R. Sorry for keeping you up past your bedtime. What's my thoughts on Bitcoin going sideways for a few months currently? It depends. I mean, if you mean between our major low currently and our major high, yeah, I mean, it doesn't take much for something that looks like sideways price action somewhere within our all-time high and the low we just put in for a few months to develop. Because even just a higher low and then like some continuation, choppy continuation to the upside, there's no strong impulse, probably takes a few months in a lot of scenarios to get towards the all-time highs. Like there's just there's so many ways to call this. Sideways price action, right? Like, okay, let's just say we'd reject from here, we put in a higher low, do this, we do this, and boom, you just have an uptrend, and it's a couple months of ranging sideways. Still have 3 months here. So yeah, my thoughts that there could be a few months between like some kind of significant trending move. I think it's reasonable to think that that could come, just because, I mean, just most scenarios that aren't just straight up or straight down are going to result in several months of time to play out. yeah, I'm bearish on the stock market. But I've been getting pretty bearish from up here. This was the first level. I thought looked quite interesting. Let me go to yeah, I was asked, what I thought. I thought this was probably the most interesting idea for like a bounce and to put in a lower high in our potential downtrend. But there's but we're kind of running through that now. So like anyways, I think I'm quite bearish on the U.S. stock market. High time frame. We had a nice, bounce off here, a nice SR flip here, but we formed a bit of a range, took this low impulse. We're now testing this downtrend. Do I think this downtrend is going to break out? Who knows, right? But I mean, whether we see a little higher here, establish some kind of pivot high, I'm bearish, high time frame for the next several years. But anyways, that could involve a lot of ranging and whatever. I'm identifying relevant bearish structure here, but it doesn't mean, like, this is a downtrend and now it's not. So if this happens, does this stay the most relevant bearish structure? Probably not, but you have to start looking for some of these highs to come, new internal structure. Right now we have like SR, price breakdown, SR flip, breakdown, SR flip, and now we're potentially testing a reclaim here. But I wouldn't be surprised to just see it all roll over. Who knows? But yeah, high time frame bearish. I think we're going to more likely than not see more continuation to the downside. We still have a lot that can happen here, and ultimately I would like to see another big move down on the stock market, and maybe that coincides with a move down on Bitcoin, maybe not, and then maybe some sideways stock market price action, and I would like to see decoupling of the two. That's my primary thesis. I don't want to go into all the reasons why, because it's just too much to explain. There's too many reasons why. But at the end of the day, I'm here looking to short on the 5-minute chart a local range that didn't exist a few days ago. So who knows? Who knows what I'll be trading tomorrow? What do I think of the famous alt season? I mean, I don't know. I hate stuff like that. Like, it's because it's so stupid. Because what does it mean, right? What does it mean to every person that's saying it? Like, people will say, "Hey, Lucky, I'm in big trouble. I'm in big trouble. My alt bag's way down. Do you think alt season's coming soon?" There's a million alts. What are you holding? Like, if I say, like, what does alt season mean to you? Does alt season to you mean that all the alts are going back to all-time highs and beyond? Like, and you bought you bought Pepe at the top, or you bought WIF at the top, and alt season to you means a new all-time high, 10,000% above the previous all-time high. No, I mean, do I think there's going to be a quote-unquote season? I hate, it's like you get stuck in these paradigms that like people create, and they're like one word, like, or a phrase, alt season, and it just means something that's stupid to everybody who uses the phrase. Do I think there's going to be a quote unquote season where some alts perform really well against Bitcoin? Yeah. Do I think that every alt is going to perform really well in that season? No, I think most probably aren't. So yeah, I think a lot of people bought the top of a bunch of shit that's never coming back, because that's what happened with. Go look at the top performers of last, all the random shit coins of the last alt season, and see how they performed in this bull run. So yeah, I would just say, who cares? I mean, like, trade it, like, yeah, just trade individual charts. Like, what are you trading? What are you positioned? How are you positioning them? Why are you trying to have such a low resolution of analysis that you're asking somebody? I'm not blaming you, by the way. I'm just saying, like, I'm just broadly speaking to the market, that you're just asking somebody, do you think alt season's coming? Like, no, I don't. Oh shit, I better sell my bag. Yes, I think alt season's coming. Oh, thank God, I'm gonna buy more ding dong, like whatever the coin is. Yeah, it's just such a pointless way of looking at things, in my opinion. There's, I don't know. For most people, there's no free money. Period. Right? Like people are hearing stories like this. This guy turned $1,000 into $18 million, and this guy, and they think like, oh, I missed it last time, but this time I'm gonna get it. There's definitely seasons where there's trending markets, downtrends and uptrends, but like, do you think that out of the millions of people, and at the very least tens and hundreds of thousands of people that are involved in every alt season, that just the majority of them are making millions of dollars? No, most people are losing money. And like, I mean, I kind of ranted about this back in the day when everything was pumping, right? Like, whether it was FET or whatever the flavor of the day was, and all the meme coins. It's like, these coins are going back to zero almost certainly. And even like, ask yourself, like, this isn't the first time this has happened. Why did nobody walk away with all the money? Okay, we gotta keep an eye on things here. I mean, why? Everybody didn't get rich in all the other alt seasons, right? If you think they did, then you haven't looked at the statistics, right? Most people just lost a bunch of money. And so everybody's waiting for this time where it's like everything you do is 100x, 500x. But the thing is, it's just going to be the same thing. It's like, it's really, really shitty. Every decision you're going to make is going to be the wrong decision until it happens with some coin or some group of coins or some, and then by the time you recognize it, it's over. And you're chasing at the tail end, and you bought the top, and now, when all this is all over, 5 years from now, you'll be asking if the alt season's coming for your bags to put you out of your underwater positions. So. But it depends on the coin, right? It's like, are there probably some coins that are going to kind of stay connected to some sort of overall cyclical idea, seasonal idea? Probably, but Is it going to be every one of the millions of altcoins that have been created? No. Is it going to be all the meme coins? Is it going to be all the AI coins or whatever it is? No, and you can just go look back again at the coins, go to the top charts in 2021 and go look at them now. They're just all dead. I mean, not all, but a lot of them. All right, we're almost there. A few more. But like, I want to see something here, right? I mean, this is the idea, and if the voodoo of all of this works, we should hopefully see something compelling a little bit. We're getting in a short. We should see people, I mean, ultimately chasing this move, and then, you know, it's like you want people to kind of culminate with the idea like, oh, we're in an uptrend, like, and it's a choppy uptrend, and I shouldn't be closing on every minor pullback. I should just be longing, and it's established, and for some reason everybody's longs up a few ticks higher here, and then when price starts coming down, this time they're not closing, and this time maybe they're even adding and buying more, and then it is the top. It's like that kind of thing. You want that type of order flow to happen here, where, you know, everybody's realizes, oh my god, it's just a strong uptrend, and gigalongs are coming in, gigalongs, nothing's closing this time, and then price just rolls over. That's the dream. But currently nothing really that interesting happening in terms of order flow, but hopefully that changes above these highs. And even if it does happen, it's not to say the trade's going to work. But anyways, let's just see. Maybe price just breaks out, because we are trending here. Price tagging GP. Oh, right. I mean, it's so anticlimactic. So anticlimactic to take the trade on that. But I'm probably going to scale in a little bit here. So, yeah, it's a little anticlimactic. I'll scale in a little bit, give it a little bit of room. I don't actually like this that much, like, but we still have some opportunities. Still some opportunities to spend some time up here. It's not that there's anything particularly, we just need either to spend some more time up here, or need to see a lot more aggressive longings coming in. But I'm willing to put on a little bit of risk. Just anticlimactic in terms of order flow here. It's not really toppy order flow, but like I said, you can always get out of a position at any point, put on a little bit of risk, see what happens here. Nice wide stop and validation, size small. If you want to just say, fuck it. Could still spend like an hour up here, almost 30-40 minutes, something like this. Some of you might have participated or watched my shorting Wednesdays live stream, where I basically just said, okay, what is the outcome if you kind of defer to the more aggressive variations of every short you could take on a Wednesday? I think there's some edge in looking for the more aggressive short setups on Wednesdays. It seems to be. But that's also going to play into the sweep of the highs as well. It's a little more interesting on Bybit. We got some big shorts getting stopped out there now. 26 mil, nothing that interesting on Binance, but 26 million delta, 29 million delta. You can see the bid-ask profile on Bybit, 30 million delta, decreasing open interest. So you see, that's a nice local run of shorts. A couple more wicks through these highs. Of course, we might just break out here. I'm just saying. I think that's completely possible. So just saying. So this is like, we know at least that there's some limit selling here, right? Because this is all the aggressive buy. This is shorts mostly closing, longs taking profits, and limit longs taking profits, and shorts getting stopped out. But this is decent delta in the context. Like this candle, 36 million volume is almost entirely a short getting stopped out. 30.3 million positive delta in a 36 million volume candle. So you almost have nothing on the aggressive sell side. It's all aggressive buying. 9.7 million, 7 million, 8.5, 7.3 million. And the same could be said about this. It's not quite as dramatic, but these are overlapping. So we have evidence of a limit seller here and some liquidity tap. So anyways, looks okay. It's not necessarily the same profile on Binance, but it doesn't really need to be. At least you got something confluent in order flow here, especially after this last little wick. Ooh, I should update the Discord as well. So usually I'll usually I'll update the Discord. Like usually this is like the the kind of the thread of the Discord. So for example, this is the low time frame channel. I was interested in taking longs and in this local range, so going to look to long and reclaim these lows. But anyways, basically, let me go back to the 15-minute chart here. You know, that was here, like taking all these lows, just held along through here. Where am I here? Taking these lows at the time, looking for new highs, but you know, then we had some bearish stuff. Just saying, I'm still long, giving the trade some room to breathe. But anyways, like today in the low time frame channel earlier, just that I'm looking for this short setup, and then you know, maybe a little brief description of the setup, and then just update that I'm in the trade. But that's generally speaking the flow of the Discord. All right, what do we have here? So we have the reaction. We maybe have some evidence that our trend angle voodoo might be in play. If that high holds, we have a plan for coming down into this low, into the trend angle of this voodoo trend angle, which is into our higher time frame uptrend. We're open to that breaking down. Probably gonna, I don't know. I'll just tell you, like, if there's two, my plan will be to be short on a breakdown here. So whether that's gonna be holding or reopening my short, you know, that those both come with their own advantages and disadvantages. One is just you take some profits, let the rest ride, and maybe the other is you kind of really try to evaluate what's happening here. I'm probably going to be taking a long down into this low, and you know, what's the confluence here if this low comes, and it's a long ways away. Well, we have a little wick reaction here, right? I'm not saying, but you know, assuming in a few hours that we're trading down there, this is my plan. I love having all this shit on this screen. It just looks so stupid, but you know, I put it on there for a reason, I guess. But we can take a lot of it off. Let's just get rid of a few things here. Let's get rid of this. We don't need this. Fib. Oh, there's 786 is there. But anyways, the idea would be looking for the value area low here, this low. I've discussed the trending stuff. You can put that on your chart if you think it offers a interesting frame of reference. And then just see if there's a downtrend forming here. If we're breaking out of it or not. Looking for longs around here, invalidation on the breakdown, and wanting to be short into these lows if there's a breakdown, and then evaluate potential long setup there. And really open-minded to just that, the possibility that this all is Pico high territory. If we have a sweep of this high into the log scale GP and we break down this range and see continued weakness, that these highs aren't coming, and before a major rejection. I've gone over my high time frame thesis so much, but you know, I know a lot of people here will want, like, it's this, we're going here, then we're going here. I don't know. I mean, no one knows. And you have the advantage of, I think it's an advantage, of being able to look at the chart every day and make a decision, right? So, you know, trading is a decision tree of if this, then that, in my view. And we're in just an if this then that type scenario. If this happens, then I'll do that. If this happens, then I'll do that. And you know, that is what it is. You could almost call this a point of control too, by the way. It's not quite the point of control, but it's a really high volume area. All right. Is there anything else I want to say about this trade? You know, I put this in the low time frame channel in the Discord, but there's something to be said that it's a high, because I don't have a swing short here at this high time frame level. It sort of plays as a partial high time frame setup as well, depending on if we reject and the lows come. But really, I mean, I'm just saying, like, I took this long. I just want, yeah, maybe I'll just discuss this briefly. It's worth discussing, I think. So like yesterday I did a members live stream, and the TLDR of the live stream was basically potentially looking for an impulse to the highs, but we started breaking down low time frame stuff, and I just thought all this targetable here, and I said on the live stream that I'm gonna plan on scalping this, and I did TP on this a little early probably, but anyways, it's like on any given day, I'm trading even stuff like this, right? Like that was this idea, just come in, tag these lows, and we had a bearish divergence here, so it's just a low time frame scalp for me, and I took profits off of that much before the highs there. But anyways, it's just sort of, this is just one of, it could be 3, 4, 5, 6 low time frame trades you end up taking in a day, right? It's not really a big deal. It's like maybe looking for this and maybe this, and you know, it's nice, you string together some wins, get well positioned for, you're feeling kind of good, you have some short profits, some long profits in the range, and maybe you're gonna parlay or put some of that at risk into breakout plays or sweeps of the highs, and you know, just evaluate what's going on, what seems like relevant structure given the time frame you're looking at. I think, I mean, at least we have a reaction here. I think I did a good job of finding something that looked relevant here, which was, you know, this setup that we're in, or I'm in rather. Yeah, I'm short. But this is so someone just asked, are you short? Just joined. And like, part of me wants to say that the point of the answer of that question is irrelevant, because it's not the point of the live stream. Like, the point of the live stream isn't like, are you shorting here, are you long? It's really to explain a thought process, something that is, like, you could call some of this, I think a lot of the stuff that I teach or talk about is like evergreen philosophy, right? It's like, it's not about the trade, it's about concepts that you can continually apply every day to the decisions you make. They're like more like principles, and so, you know, who cares in a way if I'm short here or not? Obviously, you know, the point of the live stream was to give the context of the idea, all the way from the forming the idea, waiting for the execution, and then executing the trade, and whatever. And so it's kind of about discussing the principles, right, rather than the individual trade being the highlight. But anyways, yeah, I'm short. I'm just gonna skim through the comments here because I think I missed a lot. I don't see it that way. Jonathan says, "Holy ass, whales must be so skilled to be able to manipulate the chart in a way that deceives retail at the exact Pico top / Pico low. Must be hard." Yeah, I don't see the chart that way. That it's like the whales have manipulated you in some way. I just see it as people. I see price action itself as predatory. It's like intrinsic. It's like it's not like somebody says. It's punishing people stepping out of line, right? Like they're not they're not respecting. They're not respecting price action. They're not respecting structure. They're not respecting reality, and the chart will seize that. It's going to punish you. Price action is going to punish you. It's going to take. It's searching for liquidity. It's searching to punish people who are stepping out of line. And so, like for me, like if that could be that's not just about taking or winning trades or losing trades. Like I don't want to make it about whether or not you longed here or shorted here, because it's not about that, right? It's like maybe you're short here but you're cutting it under certain conditions and you're sizing it appropriately. That's respecting structure. That's respecting price action. But I just think like somebody who just got stopped out of 40-50 million dollar short here, or liquidated, maybe even it just took a massive loss, and maybe some of that shorting came in at the lows, and certainly some of it came in here. We can actually see some of those shorts having opened. They're not respecting. I don't think they're respecting price action and the chart, and they're not sized appropriately. They're getting out of line, and the chart's going to punish them for that. I don't really think. I think they've fucked themselves. I don't think a whale did it to them. I don't think it's a grand conspiracy of like an individual or a cabal. A lot of the times it's just people doing stupid stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and they kind of know it's stupid, or maybe they don't. But that if they don't know it's stupid, then that's stupid. All right, let me just continue here. Seems like a layup of a question here. Miles K says, "I get you spend a lot of time trying to." 1 second. Okay, I don't. Something fell over, I guess. Miles says, "I get you spend a lot of time trying to learn, but I always get FOMO and spend more time watching the market instead of learning before trade. Do you think I should get my methodology before I trade?" Yeah, I don't know how long you've been around my community, but I can call that a bit of a layup of a question, because of course, I mean, I don't know, like, if you're willing to share this or not, but what type of size are you trading? Like, are you trading meaningful money to you? And there's something to be said about quote unquote watching the market. You're maybe learning something through osmosis, but I think you're probably the especially if you're trading with meaningful money, the cost benefit analysis there is pretty poor for the amount you're learning. But yeah, I mean, you just can't. It's like asking, like, hey, I really want to be a boxer, and I don't spend a lot of time trying to learn how to box or train. I just go walk into rings and start punching people, and I'm getting the shit kicked out of me, do you think it'd be better if I learn some methodology instead of just going and hopping into random rings with people and trying to fight them? You'll probably learn something doing that, but it's probably not the best way to build a successful boxing career. But yeah, don't trade at all and just learn from now. That's his question. Should I just don't trade at all and learn from now? You should trade, but you should trade with meaningless money or paper trade. I mean, you can't learn a lot. You can learn. There's certain things you can learn without trading. I guarantee 100%. There's certain things you can learn without ever putting on a trade. There's certain things you can only learn by putting on a trade. So this is, I don't even have like a plan for what I'm about to draw out on this messy chart, but there's things you can learn without trading. So learn those things without trading. Those things are important. Check. There's things you can only learn by putting on positions, and those we can make a simple thing use some simple examples, which would just be like how to place a stop loss. What is the difference between a limit order and a market order? If my stop loss is 3% away, how to size my trade so that I only lose 1%? These are basic things, right? That you could learn without putting on a trade, but let's just say you were going to put on $1 million trade. Those are the types of things you'd want to have practiced before you ever put on your $1 million trade, right? So, okay, let's just say you're setting up to take your grand, big, meaningful money trade. You're going to learn some basic things without ever putting on a trade. You're going to take some practice trades that are no money, just to say, oh, I get it. A market order executes at market. Oh, I get these ideas of like liquidity, how a limit order fills, how a market order fills. These are basic concepts. And the list of things you can learn, you can only learn by putting on trades, is pretty big, right? Like say you're just trying to see what the outcomes of different strategies are that you want to execute. Maybe you've back tested some ideas, but the list of things that you can only learn with meaningful money at risk taking trades is actually really small, and that's where I think people get really confused. Is they're learning all the lessons that should be learning with no money at risk, all the way from the things that they could learn without even taking a trade to the things they could learn taking trades, paper trading. They're learning all of that stuff and blowing all their money on the first two steps, right? So they don't get a check mark on the first, learning the things you can learn without ever taking a trade. They're risking all their money there. They could have learned those things without even putting on a trade. Then they're trying to learn all the lessons of things they could learn by putting on paper trades with all their money at risk, and they lose all their money there. So people will say things like, you can only learn you can only learn with the emotions of risking a bunch of money because it doesn't really matter. You're going to make different decisions when you're risking money. True, there's certain things that are only going to be learned by putting money at risk, and a lot of people will have, they'll start paper trading, start learning a bunch of those things, and slowly go, or sometimes even quickly, from an unprofitable to a profitable paper trader, and then they'll feel some regression, right? When they go to live trading, live funds, and they'll say, "Whoa, I'm making more emotional decisions. Where before I wouldn't care if I took the stop loss. Now I'm really scared to take it, and I'm not trading the way I was." And those are things you're going to have to overcome with. But you have to know what you're aiming for first, right? So you learn those lessons after you've learned all the other stuff. And if you think you're going to just magically make money trading, without learning all of the really just fundamental things that you must learn them. There's no way if, ands, or buts about it. That's why 95% of people lose money trading and never make money, because they're not learning those things. And you're not going to be any different. You have to learn those things. So, I like when people join my Discord, I know this is a crazy idea, but I say take some time to go through all the educational stuff, start paper trading, start documenting and building a personal track record, and developing skills before you start live trading. and people say, well, I want to make my money back. If I've joined your Discord, I want to make my money back. Obviously, I know so a lot of people just start off live trading, right? It's like they see, oh, he's in a trade, I'm going to take that trade. People do a mix of both. People trade small accounts. People paper trade, and I know a lot of people just don't follow that advice. But the idea that you should be, is kind of like saying, like, if you're going to go to medical school, and I'm not saying, I think my Discord's great. I think there's certainly other ways to learn, right? People learned how to trade before my Discord existed. I think my Discord's good for what it does. I think it's probably one of the best places that you could learn. But at least it's sufficient. But so I'm not going to compare it to a medical school, but I'll use the analogy, which is if you join a medical school to become a doctor, and on day one you say, yo, I'm trying to pay for my medical school today, so like, come on, put me in the put me into a live surgery here, let's bill a client because I got to make some money. What's the point of even being here? It's like, it's such a stupid way to look at learning something, that the moment you make the decision, I'm going to learn to do something, I'm going to learn to become a doctor, I'm going to learn to become a lawyer, I'm going to go to school to do it, that you that day you need to start doing that thing, or it's not worth it. That's just not how anything else works. You want to become a professional fighter, but your plan is the day you decide to join a boxing gym and get a coach, you better be making money. Like, what else? So it's a dangerous mentality to have, because what people do is it stunts it's making and losing money should not be your primary concerns as a beginner, right? So don't set yourself up that way. Like, it goes both ways. They'll say, hey, I only am willing to risk $1 per day, and so I'll take one trade risking $1 per day, or $5 a week, and I'll take one trade a week at $5 risk, or $100, whatever the number is. But it's like, well, then now you've limited your ability to learn based on some random metric, which is one trade a week or one trade a day, based on how much money you're willing to make or lose. And you should be taking a bunch of trades, but with paper trade, right? Because you're going to learn by implementing things and testing different things and gaining different experiences, and you shouldn't be handicapped by how much money you want to make or lose. And I like analogies, and this one's probably getting a little worn thin, but if it's like being a boxer and saying, hey, I'm only gonna learn by live fighting, and I'm only willing to take one jab per week because I don't want to get a bunch of brain damage before I start my boxing career. So I'm gonna go into the gym with a professional fighter every day, go into the ring rather, and the way I'm going to learn is to get in there until he jabs me once, then I'm done for the week, and then I'll come back the next week and get jabbed in the face again. It's like, that. Why is that your and so that's how I look at people who say, like, I'm only willing to lose $1, some fixed amount of money, take one trade a week, whatever it is, and that is how I'm going to learn. It's just stupid. You should just be learning as much as you can, as quickly as you can, not worried about making money as a brand new trader. So anyways, let me go through the chat really quickly here. Yeah, someone says paper trade, it's valuable to be playing in the market as you study, apply concepts in real time without losing money. I mean, I 100% agree. I just think people who say, like, you can't learn anything paper trading are just dumb. I mean, nobody does it. There's certain things you can't learn paper trading, but there's a lot you can, and you want to progressively work through those things. You don't want to learn you don't want the things you could have learned for free to cost you half your money. Oh, that's what a stop loss is. says, I'm just trying to lower my position size right now, $10 trades. While I was ranting, we did have a kind of a decent sized big short position open up at the local low here, so that's kind of getting squeezed out. Could have probably just made note of that, just for the, see 19, you know, similar here, you have a lot of shorts getting stopped out. Now you have a big short opening, so you know, you could probably surmise that this guy and this guy, maybe this, some of this might be the same guy. It's kind of like, imagine you get stopped out of a short, and then it's the Pico talk and price rotates to the downside, and you reopen the short. Oh, and now price is coming back up, right? It might not be the same guy, but at the very least, it's the characteristic of this trader on Bybit, right? Because you don't really have the same profile here as you do on Binance as you do in Bybit. So just stopped out of shorts, opens them back up, instantly underwater again, and probably getting squeezed out. And probably, you know, if running this short out here, a couple fractions of a percentage higher, and they all closed again, you know, 0.2% higher, I would just say again, this is somebody, is the market manipulating this guy if that happens, or is he just not respecting the market at all if he's trading that way? There's just no respect, right? If this is some big stop loss for him, if this is the type of, I mean, you know, who knows, maybe it's not that type of leverage in the position, but if you're trading this kind of size, like, you can't be, you aren't trading 0.2% stop losses with $20 million market entries here, and not getting targeted all the time, right? Because like, that's like nothing. So anyways, we'll see what happens, but just Gymnasium says, join the Discord if you haven't. 1 month to really digest the educational videos, and you'll never blow up an account again. Not even a shill. Lucky's Discord is a top trading practicum. I mean, I think my Discord's a great place to learn, but you know, you only shill it so hard. I like the boxing analogy because I actually do boxing. When I look at the market, it's like I'm sparring, but I end up spending more time sparring instead of doing drills and techniques. Yeah, so sort of, I guess I gave a good analogy. Like, you're maybe a beginner and you want to spar. That's just my opinion. I don't like paper trading because you're giving away data for free, but that's just my opinion. I mean, I would just say, you know, for beginner traders, their paper trading data is probably not the, you know, yeah, I just want to say that that's probably the biggest concern. You'll see when you get in. That's what Gymnasium says. Anyways, I'm out. Let's see if we wake up in a 1 year stop loss. Yeah, obviously the Discord's, I'd say it's pretty robust. It's a big combination of just static content that you watch videos, read through. I think pretty digestible, pretty streamlined in terms of, you know, it's not going to waste an hour of your time to explain something that could take 15 minutes to explain. And then I'm live trading in there almost every day. For 4 or 5 years, however long it's been. What exactly do you look for in terms of candles / wick / body closures retests when looking for a strong reaction off key levels, and what time frames are the best to look at when doing this? It's just too complicated to answer that question in a way, because it's just sort of like, it's sort of like, is that even the criteria? Like, what exactly do you look for in terms of candles, wicks, body closures, retests? Like, should you be defining a trade that way? Like, is that the most relevant? There's gonna be certain things, right? Like price comes into, like, for me, I like to think about the structure of price coming into a level, breaking out of a level, and but ultimately, is price trading through the level or is it rejecting, right? Like, if, let me go to an example here. Like, say this is the level, this is the high, and you get some kind of impulse through the level. Okay. And that's what you want to short. There's going to be a lot of scenarios where I'm just short into that, right? And then this starts happening. It's like, well, probably you can just get out of this short somewhere, and then if this initial sweep of the high, it's just this is happening, and you have like a strong uptrend, you might not be looking at the closure here or the wick or whatever. You might just be looking at, is the most aggressive part of this trend holding, or are you at least losing that and seeing some weakness there? Like, just kind of basic structural stuff. But you may, like, some people may want to look at, like, like some people would say, like, wait for the 15-minute close under the level or something like that, and in some cases that puts you in a situation where this was your short setup and you have this impulse through the level happening and you're shorting way down here because you're waiting for the close versus just waiting for the sweep through the level. I don't know. There's just so many ways that price interacts with levels. Like, but I think, like, the level, like, if this starts happening, you're kind of getting kind of worried about this whole idea as it's structured. All right. I don't really have a great reason to sit on the live stream for much longer. Could kind of like wait to see how this plays out, but we're kind of in this spend some time here and the level's still just in play. Wick this high again, maybe some more shorts open and then get wicked out at the highs. Who knows? Or we just break out. But you could end up sitting here for 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour without much happening. Not tagged. Kalichi says 100 humans versus lucky chart ape. That's what the world wants to know. "100 humans, could 100 humans beat one lucky chart ape?" I'm just scrolling through order flow here. I don't know. I might leave the live stream on for a few more minutes or something, but I might not say a whole lot. Just because I'm sitting here. So it is Wednesday, and it is moon phase season. Those are some loose confluences for the short. You know, I think another pump through this high could still kind of play into the moon phase idea. That's the high end. Maybe that's why we kept front running. At the major log scale GP, the non-log up higher, align more with the POC. We've been ranging here now for over a week. Let's see what happens here. See if anything happens interesting at order flow and the highs, because we haven't really had anything too convincing. Maybe tag out this aggressive buy bit short again. Jonathan says, does making trading decisions become easier as you get several years under your belt? Making difficult decisions constantly can make some people stressed. I would put it this way. In any way that it feels like you kind of need to think about. I like the quote from Paul Tudor Jones Jr. just basically saying, like, he aims to make his life easy. He wants to be happy, and he wants his trading decisions to make him happy. That can to do with sizing, cutting trades that aren't working. Like, try to reduce your stress. Why try to make yourself miserable? And there can be a point where you think you're doing that, and you're getting really comfortable, but that's really dangerous too, right? Like there's always an underlying stress. Like I saw this story about somebody who they're a skydiver, and they'd had like 800 jumps, and that it was their third jump that day. So super experienced, right? Super experienced skydiver. I mean, probably about as comfortable as you could possibly be skydiving with hundreds and hundreds of jumps. And he died, and he did that because he just on the third jump that day he jumped out of the airplane and forgot to put on his parachute. So you probably ask him, hey, do you get more comfortable? Like, is it get easier to jump out of the plane the more times you do it, and like less stressful? And he'd say, yeah, I'm super comfortable. There's no stress. I'm so experienced. And it's to the point where he jumped out of the plane without a parachute. Now, I can tell you this. I'm not a very experienced skydiver. In fact, I've never been skydiving. But if I were to go skydiving, there is one thing that I know with 100% certainty that would not happen to me. I would not forget to put on my parachute. If I would be about as stressed as hell, at least about that thing, that I am wearing my parachute, that it's buckled up properly, it's strapped up properly. And so the question is, is it even a good thing? Like you shouldn't be so not stressed to the point that you're forgetting to put on a parachute because you're so experienced. And that's the danger. So, I think a healthy dose of stress in terms of like, hey, you're still jumping out of a parachute. Yes, you understand, you've done it many times, and you feel comfortable, but not to the point where you're not putting on your parachute. Does that make sense? So in trading terms, you don't want to probably be at the point where you're so relaxed, you're so comfortable that you find yourself jumping out of a plane without a parachute one day. And someone says the parachute's proper risk management. Learn proper risk management. Yeah, I mean, it could be that. It could be many things, but it's just like it's such a crazy thing to think about, right? That somebody that experience of a skydiver is just, the metaphors of complacency and all that stuff. That the way you die is you jump out of the plane because you forgot to put on a parachute. That's brutal. That's crazy. And so yeah, I like to be careful just like how you answer that question, because it's going to basically it's basically going to be the constant flow of any trader's career. And it could even be a beginner trader who's like, let's just say, they've struggled with all these things every beginner struggles with, and then maybe they join the Discord and start learning some of these things that they hadn't learned before, and they start seeing some early success, right? So they start feeling like, oh my gosh, like before I was so stressed, I was so nervous, now I'm implementing some structure to my trades, a plan, risk management, and they string together some wins, and they start, and then they just start saying like, I feel completely relaxed. I feel like what was so difficult before is so easy now. And so because of that, they just start doing, they forget the reason they feel that way is because of specific things they're doing in their trading, and they start saying, I feel so comfortable, I could just take this trade or this trade. I could instead of limiting my risk to this, I could take double that risk. I could take triple, quadruple, 5 times the risk. It's like I'm just feel one with the market. And it's like that's the type of thing that gets you into trouble. So like starting to feel like the comfort you're feeling should be the progression of like feeling more comfortable is that you should be taking, or even being more experienced and feeling more comfortable because of that, is like, because I'm more comfortable, less stressed, I should be taking on more risk. I should be doing things I wasn't doing before, when in reality trading is mostly going to be just doing the thing that's comfortable over and over and over again on repeat, and making it as boring as possible, and not there's not, it's like risk isn't progressive with skill necessarily, right? So it's not like, a beginner trader is risking 0.5%, an intermediate is risking 1%, a more advanced traders were risking 2%, there's really good traders risking 5%, and then the elite traders risk 25% per trade. Like that's, but I think people kind of have that in there, that type of idea floating somewhere in their subconscious. See if this guy gets stopped out. What happens here? So far, no cigar. Price kind of grindy, a little grindy into this. Bybit pretty dead, or Binance pretty dead here in terms of volume. See what we can poke out up here. Maybe rotate up to the value area high. But start getting a little skeptical of the short working out somewhere in here. $786 value area high region. Just kind of a back test into this. But if this kind of all keeps grinding, wow. But again, we're just at the level. Like I'm not thinking necessarily anything like, oh, trade's not going to work. It's just, this is the kind of the critical low time frame structure idea, the most aggressive form of the trade. But spending some time here, it's okay. But we don't have anything really happening here in order flow, which I'd say in this context is probably lends itself to price going higher, whether that's one tick higher or, but we'll see. Jonathan says, if you had someone clip these answers up into clips, think those would do well. Maybe help to grow the Discord. Yeah, I know. I know. I mean, I know I could do a lot with. I don't basically do anything like that. I don't actually even know. I don't actually even know when I think about it how my X grows or Discord or anything. Like I don't actually know how it happens, because I know I'll talk about it. I mean I don't do that much in terms of like promoting though. Like anything like really, like I'll say like this is what the Discord is, whatever. I don't actually know. I feel like I don't do a ton of like promotion stuff, or even like I definitely, it's like I don't do like paid promoting or anything. So It's kind of in a way amazing that it has any growth at all. Because I know if I just made some kind of concerted effort just to do some basic things, I could probably grow really exponentially. I don't really, yeah, I mean, I don't really know if that's true. No need to promote. The right people who are serious will find you. Um, yeah, I mean, if you don't, if you don't put yourself somewhere where people can find you, uh, people aren't just gonna magically find you, I guess. But yeah, gotta be thinking some of these higher levels and potentially a breakout might be coming. We'll see. Am I in order flow? Yeah. That short's still not really squeezed out locally. But this is getting quite impulsive looking. Little bit of a little bit of a run. Have, I would say, not a lot of optimism in this trade working at this point. This is looking definitely more on the impulsive side. Starting to see that 786 back test region coming into play here. Probably a do or die for a local rejection here. Right around 95K. The value area high. Some decent volume on buyouts. In this candle, 100 million. Delta's kind of neutral. This short starting to get squeezed. This might be him. Some similar size in there. No way to know if it's the same trader though. probably make a decision here. If there's not a quick rejection off of this region above on the impulse, if we get something like this, could look to take a break even or slight win, slight loss, whatever it ends up being. But this is the retest, trendline retest. This is all built into the trade. Gonna fight to just let some of this play out. Let's see what happens. But this definitely didn't roll over. Oh yeah, someone's saying, you notice how I'm not shitting myself when the trade isn't working? Well, I mean, for the same reason I'm not shitting myself with glee when, like, the trade is just as much in my favor here as it is out of my favor here, right? Like, I'm not like, holy fuck, what the shit, this is insane, look at this trade. I do find like people get, for example, let's just say this happens, like, and price is down here and you're up, you know, price comes down to this value area low and trade's kind of printing here. They're less worried, when they really should be, about everything they're about to round trip here at the lows of this move, then they are scared about this, right? It's like, this feels terrible to them, but they're just chilling here, and this starts out, and they've just round tripped this whole trade off the value area low, taking this low. And you know, you should have that uneasiness more so here, right? It's like, okay, you're gonna lose the trade. The point is, like, someone can feel fine round tripping a 4 or 5 R trade the whole way through the round trip, but if they're like 0.3 R underwater, they're like, oh my god. I have some local highs here, value area high, this retest, but we'll see. Still, order flow's not looking, it's not looking that toppy. This last little move, maybe it kind of plays just for something more interesting. Bybit definitely running more shorts, which I think makes sense because I think there was more aggressive shorts opening at the lows here. Decreasing open interest, increase in delta. Probably want to see something. I mean, I think this might just get blasted. I think I might just be taking a scalp on this one. we'll see. We're at the 786 value high now, but these highs are coming quite frequently here. And now I'm going to be stuck on this live stream for 2 more hours because now shorting the major levels to the upside are in play. There is the 786 value area high. Again, it's not looking particularly toppy, but certainly a level you aren't surprised to see some reactions. It's probably got to be a strong consideration of getting out of this trade if we get this. Kind of risking the half stop for break even. It's just you can't help but think that, you know, let's just say like price gets really weak from here. But you just aren't getting back into the short with something a little bit more clear. Thing is, a lot of times this isn't going to retrace in the bullish scenarios, even back to entry, but we'll see what happens. Now's the moment. Definitely if you're holding here, I feel like closing the trade here is probably not very optimal. You're gonna probably get reactions down into like a retest here fairly often. But anyways, there's not really any there's nothing really crazy happening here. It's kind of choppy trending stuff, like shorts getting stopped out on almost nothing super interpretable that's not just neutral on Binance here, but on Bybit you have shorts getting stopped out and someone flipping long up at the people flipping along up at the highs, 17, but it's nothing crazy. It's like you're not chopping hundreds of millions of dollars up here. It's just kind of choppy trending stuff, and like this probably runs out these top longers, and then maybe just start seeing continuation. And maybe the only way you're really holding something like this is if price just nukes, which it's almost never going to do here. I don't really want to break out now because I don't want to do. I wouldn't mind being live for a breakout highs. I'm kind of just a little. I could use a little break from the live stream, and I don't really want to roll this all into one live stream. I'd actually rather have that just be like an independent live stream rather than the tail end of a multi-hour live stream. In that case, maybe I would just reset it, but a little bit more aggression coming in here on Bybit and Binance. Nothing crazy on Binance, but weighted a little more heavily long into these candles. 14 million, 15 million delta into $30 million volume so far, versus this candle a little bit more neutral. It's not really a lot of volume. This probably entering into just breakout territory. $38, $40. All right, if we're gonna chop something, if we're gonna chop anything here, it's gotta come now, because we're about to take all of these highs that we've continually front run. But this is why there's front runs, right? Is people start, I'm not saying it's going to happen here, but I mean it's just objectively happened many times in this range. People start top blasting, preempting the breakout, and now we're starting to see some of that top blasting. 29, 32, 20 million delta, big 10 million long right at the top of this candle, and aggressive long. And people top blast into these impulses like this, looking for the front run, or I mean sorry, looking for the breakout, trying to front run the breakout, and they just end up top blasting a front run, and they get wiped out. So anyways, that's a possibility here, as you see all these longs piling in, shorts stopping out, but probably need to be looking to get out on the retracement. I'm not sure. I haven't made up my mind yet. I think it's fine either way. If I got out on the retracement, it would not be to bail on the short idea completely. It would be to just probably get into something like that, rather than just being short for like this wick, like what, hoping for this. That's probably not coming. probably got some of this into New York at this point. So, like in the bearish scenarios. But again, so like if I had to say, is there a case to be made about just like if I'm just gonna go to sleep for the next 2 days and not look at the chart, trying to just hold a short here and hoping the highs hold? Yeah, but that's probably not what I'm gonna do. I'm not gonna sleep for the next 2 days, so getting out and then potentially getting back in if there's more weakness, because this if there was something a little more crazy here in the order flow, like hundreds of millions of volume and delta, maybe would be more interested, but it's also sort of local high territory rather than it is major high. Well, we got a big seller here. Probably some longs aggressively closing. 11 million, 7.5, 8.1, shifting the delta in the candle. So people trying to get out before they get nuked. but sometimes that can create a low. See the profile here on Binance too, so some aggressive selling into this reaction. We could use a little more of that. Hey, I like the glazing. I like the glazing, especially when I'm in a losing trade. I don't know. It's so it's kind of tricky here. It's like, what time is it? Should I be playing? Should I just be holding this and say screw it? But I just think that it's probably just got to be prudent to just get out of here, because for this short, it's like the odds that this just comes and I'm not just able to play it on some kind of retest or something like this in the bear scenarios, it's just so small. I'm just thinking like okay, I'm not gonna leave the chart for the next 2 days, but let's just say I'm not around for the next 3 or 4 hours, and I'll just let the next 3 or 4 hours play out. Like in the bearish scenarios here, if there are indeed any, say I just get out on something like this, the retest. In the bearish scenarios, what are the odds, if this is my trade, that like I'm just kind of left kind of like, oh, should have held that, and not having something in here to short between London and New York on a Wednesday, and that I'm just not fading this. I think it's pretty good odds that I'm gonna be able to come back in the next 12 hours and find a short in here again if I want to. This little trend line retest idea, I mean, yeah, it's kind of built into the trade, 786 value area high, but whatever. Could go either way. One is you just never took the trade. It's almost like you never took the trade, and you're back to trading around the next session. That's assuming we even get that, right? But I think we probably do. We probably get something like this. I'll just type up a little thing in the Discord. Gonna look to of the But yeah, the biggest thing, I mean, the biggest thing is that most of the time, you're gonna be feeling like you're missing the trade, or you're not gonna have a chance to get into it or out of it or back into it or whatever it is. But it's like most of the time that's not the case. It's like you usually have a lot of time to make trading decisions. Sometimes you don't, but like this is kind of a decision point for this trade, and you could start to feel like, oh my god, I missed the trade. But it's the same thing you could have felt here, right? Oh, I missed the trade if you weren't already short, and then price is just pumped up, and we just range here, and you end up taking this trade. Most of the time, straight up and straight down isn't what's happening, and even if it is, there's ways to trade around that as well. But entering trades and exiting trades should be relatively easy. But anyways, the point is, most of the time that's not what's happening. But most of the time, traders will find themselves making decisions as if that's happening. Like, it happens occasionally, but if every trading decision that you make is based around, oh my gosh, we're just going to go straight up from here, oh my gosh, we're just going to go straight down from here, I'm going to miss this, I'm going to, whatever it is, well, you just have to look at any chart to know that if that's how you think every day, well, then most of the time you're wrong. Most of the time that's not how price action's playing out. Even this. Can play like this a lot of the times. I think harmonics are interesting. Bert says, would you say it's a short, or sorry, would you say it's a coin flip right now? I'm not sure what you're referring to, if you're referring to like retesting the entry or the stop loss, or if you're saying it's if you're saying the whole trade working period. Can you look at all the Wednesdays like you do with weekends? Can you look at all the Wednesdays like you do with weekends? I'm not sure what you're asking. Bored Fellow says, we're in the manipulation era of the crypto, LOL. Maybe. I forget if I mentioned harmonics. Yeah, I think harmonics are interesting. And I use them in some cases. Some harmonic ideas. Here. Some bearish ones. couple confluent with lower legs, like bullish harmonics. Maybe some bearish ones. It's like a higher low. Push up to here, and then this kind of ends bearishly. One funny thing is the short I closed around entry down here the other day was a stop right above this high, and that actually would have held. Like, you would never think in a million years that like that is going to hold, but we actually just front ran it. A little more aggressive longing coming in on Binance. Again, nothing crazy, but it's giving us a slight local bearish divergence, which is just to say that, like, here we have the aggressive, a lot of shorts closing long. There's a lot going on in the candle, but anyways, then here 15 million positive delta, increasing open interest, and a 38 million delta candle, or 6.4 million, some bigger positions. So you can now see like CVD is starting to rise into this, and price is failing to rise. So that's like signs of some suppression being put on price here with selling. But it's nothing major, but how about a swing failure and then we put in a higher low in May? Well, I think in most bullish cases, yeah, there's probably going to be something. I mean, like, let's just say whatever, sample PA, put in the higher low, get some bullish price action. Like, there's probably gonna be something kind of choppy happening here. Maybe you're saying this, but yeah, I mean, let's just say we impulse to the upside. I mean, probably gonna fake out the all-time highs at least once for a higher low. Be surprising if we just like have just a straight up clean break of it the first time. It's just too choppy. But that's not really. I mean, we either do or we don't. You're not really surprised to see it. I mean, it just depends, I guess. If price just grinds up and breaks out, then it does. All right. Well, I'm just kind of sitting on a live stream here because I'm sitting here and probably just going to close this trade at the lows, but I don't really need to sit here to do that. Again, I'm only closing this trade because I'm thinking I'm getting back into this. Even if this happens, like I think I'm getting back into this in the bear scenarios fairly frequently, pretty easily later. Oh, you said yeah, meant to swing failure just above the current level. Yeah, that's my primary thesis. I mean, I like to take the highs above, but for the same reason. For the same reason that there's been short setups in this range. Like this is all just internal stuff. I mean, whether we take the highs now, be okay, or we range here and then take the highs, whatever it is. I like this idea of taking the highs and putting it in a higher low. I mean, I'm gonna probably be shorting around that too. This is more of a local setup, kind of based around there's the possibility of just breaking down. I think you got to target into some of this. Yeah, I'm a little torn. I'm a little torn about closing the trade, but because I kind of think it's fine. I think it's fine to go either way with it. Just accept the risk and leave it if we come back down for the retest here. But it is also a point of control, depending on how you pull this. Either really high volume area, point of control. So, like, you could look at it like this as well. It wasn't the point of control before. It was actually, I guess it was so close. It could either be the point of control or this is it. But the other way to look at it is, the high volume node was a confluence for the short as well. But another way to look at this is just like a breakout and flip of this, right? So, yeah, I think getting out is reasonable, and it potentially could be reasonable just any time here, but you're risking at this point. You're just risking a full stop for a partial. See if you can get some kind of retest into the level for the bullish scenarios even. And then you're just out of the trade for these scenarios, and looking to trade higher. And for the bear scenarios, probably not going to chase it in aggressively, just look for New York if I want to get back short again. And if I just miss the whole short, then unlucky, I guess. We just do something like this, and it's not even like this. You can't find any shorts. It's just you're not really short from this idea. One more thing to consider that I can't help but think about here. But it's sort of hard to care that much. But it is a Wednesday, and it is just a rejection, and this is like our last retest of this high. and then do the really bearish, like, when is it, yeah, this is just such a reasonable, like, this even, right, such a reasonable way to trade this setup. If you're looking for the most aggressive shorts on a Wednesday, you have the whole moon phase in your favor. I don't know. I think it could go either way. I think I'm basically playing with kind of two gambits, so to speak. One being that if the bear scenario plays out, then I'm going to be able to get into this, back into this trade pretty easily. And I'm just fading the bullish scenario for new highs. But if that's not true, and we're just trading at the lows of the range later today, then I may be playing along at some of these lows. And if it gets really bearish, there's some scenarios where you're kind of scrambling to suddenly be into that short trade. There's a lot of weakness here. Could make an argument that if literally price just nukes this, like kind of POC retest entry, we call it the entry region, but it's not just the entry, it's horizontal structure, potentially trending structure. But if we just like blast through it, you could make an argument, of course, then just hold and just, but the blast would probably only come to here, hold, and then just close there or something. We'll see. We'll see. I'll give it a chance to just break through, but it doesn't seem like the most likely outcome here. If anything, we probably get a slight front run of that level. Some minor aggressive shorting coming in. I actually, there's just too many scenarios here where this takes like an hour or so. I'm not gonna stay alive, but whatever. I think could close it. Probably the play in a lot of scenarios. Why sit here? Anyways, the whole point is, I'll end with this. Trading is oftentimes just a series of making reasonable decisions. There's no perfect decision, like should you enter here, close here, should you wait for this. You could reasonably justify a lot of different things, right? And you're not really, there's no perfect decision. There's pros and cons to a lot of decisions that you are going to make in trading, but you should never be in a situation where your evaluation of your decisions is like, this is insane. It should be like, this is reasonable. Like, you know, even, is it just reasonable to just close your trade now at like right above break even? Sure, whatever. If you want to get back in, you can always get back into the trade anytime. Look for this, wait for this, just take the stop. It's all built into the trade, right? Like the whole trade, for me, allows for me to just take the full stop, and that's fine as well. But I think it's probably somewhat reasonable just to get out as well. And come back and maybe play the same trade again. So anyways, whatever. Sometimes it's nice when trades just work in your favor and everything's working, and then you just sort of chill, right? Like if this happens and price just rolls over, then you're happy to just be in the short. And then if the trade starts to not really go the way you'd like it to go, you just kind of say, I'll just come back and play a trade that is going the way I want it to go. Ultimately, we're sort of we're within like we're within like 0.15% of entry, right? We're talking about a pretty negligible difference in terms of distance of price, but we're thinking about structure. We're just kind of thinking about why you might just want to get out of this rather than stay in it. And if you wanted to get back into it, you'd probably get something like this. Alright guys, I think I'm going to end the live stream because I wouldn't mind just taking some time off the live, because there is a chance that we do push up towards these highs today, and I wouldn't mind. That might just be a members live stream. I'll fill it out, but I wouldn't mind being live for that as well. So, alright, I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for tuning in.